The woman had collapsed near the back door of her third-floor apartment building during the fast-spreading fire. One man living in the building tried to rescue her, but he was driven back by the thick black smoke. That's when two New Haven firefighters stepped in.
He found her on the floor, on the third floor landing.
Was she conscious at the time?
No, she wasn't. She was unconscious.
Is it safe to say if they had not gone in there and found her and brought her out that she would not have made it through?
You could say that.
Faulty electrical wiring on the second floor is being blamed for starting that fire.
Officers found the woman trapped on the building's third floor. The victim is in critical condition at Yale New Haven Hospital tonight, and the baby is said to be okay. The blaze started in some stereo equipment on...
Firefighters got the 1:41 p.m. blaze out in about 25 minutes. But inside, two police officers spotted an 8-year-old boy, known to neighbors only as Praveen, left by himself in the burning house.
Left-hand side in flames as the boy was coming out the house.
And could you tell if he was by himself? Was there anybody else?
I didn't see no one else come out the house.
No.
I just seen that little boy.
Right now, we have him home alone at the time of the fire.
Fire investigators say they had earlier reports of the boy covered with soot on his face and hands trying to make a cell phone call. The youngster apparently playing with matches upstairs and downstairs.
And it starts in the family room or probably sunroom off to the right-hand side of the building. You probably see that. And all accidentals were eliminated, and more likely than not, the child playing with the matches.
And the smoke caused serious problems for several residents. Fox 61's John Harrington reports from the Bella Vista apartment complex.
Just take your time.
A rescuer assures a stranded elderly woman that the fire that was down the hall no longer poses a threat to her. But the trauma did take its toll on 10 residents. 8 were treated in a triage set up in the Bella Vista lobby for either breathing too much smoke or anxiety. 2 residents, an elderly man and woman, were taken away by ambulance. Some residents took the risky move of getting out via the elevator. Ed Condon used it because of his bad leg.
I was going to walk down the stairs, and then I changed my mind. I said, maybe I better take the elevator, and I did. And I made it. And then right after that, there was an announcement, no elevators.
Firefighters evacuated residents all the way up to the 12th floor of the 17th-story building. This woman's mother lives on the 14th floor.
How is she, as far as you know?
Very hysterical. She called my daughter, and my daughter got me, and we came.
Fire officials say they sounded a second alarm to get enough manpower here to help with evacuations. Within this 5-building complex, there are some 2,400 residents, 95% of them elderly. Fortunately, the fire was contained to one apartment, but it totally gutted the place. Fire officials say it started in the bedroom while no one was home.
There was smoke on the fire floor, and with the efforts of our firefighters, they was able to alleviate a lot of that smoke.
Most residents are expected to return to their apartments tonight, but the smell of smoke and the memories of some uncertain moments may linger. In New Haven, I'm John Harrington with photographer Al Chanuski. Fox 61, News at 10.
Carol Latoya Evans died in the late Wednesday night apartment house blaze. Her brother and 2 sisters were saved.
Another man, Daniel McFadden, was critically burned. McFadden is being treated in the hyperbaric chamber in Norwalk Hospital. Police say a neighbor is being credited with saving the lives of the 3 surviving children.
The 2-alarm blaze at Pirelli's Cafe started just before 5 a.m. The fire is now out, but firefighters are still going through the wreckage at 168 Chapel Street looking for the cause of that fire. A number of people who lived in apartments on the upper floor of that building were able to escape the flames, but there is no word at this point.
At about 5 this morning, no injuries were reported.
The attic of this 3-family home, and for a brief time, 3 house caught fire. Action News reporter Jim Hoffer has more on a blaze that tested everyone's will.
The first thing in your mind was...
Get out. Get out.
A night for residents and firefighters to remember.
Everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
From the time the fire started, lives were in the balance.
We ran into a situation that everybody calls a backdraft. And for a time, 3 firefighters were unaccounted for.
Underline your rods, plaster hooks, pulling ceiling. Let's go. Shut this down. Let's put the fire out.
Through a driving snow, firefighters managed to rescue 3 of their own, plus 2 residents, no serious injuries.
I thank God for my life.
And I'm just glad and thankful to God that we got out.
The residents that live in this building say it is comfortable, but it is also cursed. This is not the first fire, it's not the second, but the third. And back in 1991, one of the residents living here died when this house went up in flames.
We've been here before. I don't see any reason to think that the fires were linked, but it certainly looks like the house was snake bitten.
3 times and you're out. You know, I'm just saying, you know, because you don't keep tempting fate.
15 people tempted fate by living here. Tonight, the 3 families that called this place home find shelter from the season's worst storm through the Red Cross. They find hope to go on in their faith.
If you fall down every time something happens, you can't make it. You have to learn to stand up. And I really believe that when you walk out here today, I'm going to make it.
We'll trust in God. God has something better.
In New Haven, Jim Hoffer, Action News 8.
In a 3-story brick building. The top 2 floors were damaged, but a furniture store on the ground floor was spared. One person suffered minor injuries. The Red Cross helped relocate the 9 families displaced by the fire. No word yet on what caused it.
Locked in the house at the corner of Woodward and Forbes. The 2 people inside at the time were able to get out safely. There were no injuries. The man who first noticed smoke called the fire department, says his mother-in-law and uncle lived inside.
Bump in the basement, and they thought it was nothing. Then the house just filled up with smoke. And they came down the stairs and out the door, and it just burnt up.
Started in the basement. Apparently it's a gasoline leak. We've had a problem here for a couple of weeks. However, it's been determined they allowed the people to go back in last week one day. And apparently it must have flared up again.
New Haven firefighters and the State Department of Environmental Protection are still on the scene of the fire, watching gas levels very closely.
We're told that the blaze began in the basement, quickly spreading to the 1st and 2nd floors. 2 people who were in the house got out safely. The Department of Environmental Protection was called to the scene. Last week, residents had reported smelling odors of gasoline. The cause of this blaze still under investigation tonight.
And the bitter cold was just one of the problems facing New Haven firefighters this morning. When they arrived at the Grand Avenue scene, firefighters found 2 boys trapped inside a burning building. Action News reporter Jane Saffer has more.
It was a life-saving rescue from a burning apartment building. A 5-year-old boy and his 13-year-old brother were the most seriously injured, but both were revived.
Well, this particular fire started on the 2nd floor and extended to the upper levels.
Residents who first saw the smoke tried to alert their neighbors.
So I started, telling everybody, everybody get out of the building, the house is going down.
Fortunately, firefighters prevented that from happening, but it wasn't easy. The combination of a fast-moving fire and freezing temperatures makes their job a lot tougher. The equipment freezes, and the street was like a sheet of ice.
Obviously, the cold weather wears you down a lot faster. It's a lot more difficult, I would imagine, to keep up with it.
It is, but when you get a fire of this volume like that, the adrenaline in your body just seems to pick up, and I don't know, you just get energy from God knows where.
2 firefighters were injured trying to contain the blaze. One slipped and fell, injuring his neck and leg. The other hurt his back. Still, considering the conditions they were up against, firefighters took pride in a job well done. In New Haven, Jane Saffer, Action News 8.
And firefighters tell Action News the cause of the fire was a 3-year-old playing with matches. All of the residents have been relocated to another building.
Investigators say the fire began in the kitchen of a 1st-floor apartment just after 1 o'clock this afternoon. Firefighters say a woman had been using her oven to heat the apartment, and the kitchen cabinets caught fire. The woman and her baby escaped the fire without being injured. The blaze spread quickly to the attic and the roof of the building. An earlier fire in New Haven left 6 people homeless. The blaze on Brownell Street broke out as fire crews were teaching elementary school kids the do's and don'ts of fire prevention. Action News reporter Sally Ann Mosey has that story.
Believe it or not, this is recess in a fire prevention class. New Haven firefighters dropped their chalk in St. Michael's School and grabbed their gear to battle this 2-alarm fire that left extensive water damage and 1 person homeless. But before the blaze, some of these men were teaching fire safety. It's National Fire Prevention Week, and to teach kids how to react to fires and prevent them, the firemen come here to their schools and visit them in their classes, like this 1st grade class at St. Michael's. Mom, what would you do? Mrs. Binkowski's class appears to be quick learners. They remembered what the fireman told them.
He said, call 911.
Mm-hmm. And did he give you advice what to do, 3 things you should do?
Yeah.
What are they?
Stop, rock, and roll. If the smoke is up in the air, we roll out of the bed.
We ask them, what do you do in case of a fire? And you'd be surprised how many kids say, get out of the house and dial 911.
All the students have to do is look at this fire to understand the importance of the lessons learned today. In New Haven, Sally Ann Mosey, Action News 8.